TitleMatchNetwork.com.
How were you contacted about doing the very first ECW pay-per-view?
I guess actually it was Dreamer that called me. I was sitting in my living room, and obviously I never thought that I was actually retired at that point. The only people I would work for was because I liked Norm Connors and I liked Frank Goodman, who ended up still owing me $700. He was short in pay, and there was a lot of other guys that he could have paid with that $700. So I just said, "Listen, Frank, take care of me next time." Next thing I know, he moved to Florida. And then Norm Connors, I don't even know if he runs anymore.
He still does.
You know what I mean? So I would just work for those two guys in maybe 2002, 2003, 2004. And then I guess maybe if it's 2007, maybe it was 2005, Dreamer called me in May and said they wanted to sign you. I didn't know anything about the One Night Stand. He just said they wanted to sign you. So we had some negotiations back and forth. We came up with a number, and I said, and they wanted me to sign for 3 years, and I said there's no chance I'm signing for 3 years because WWE is obviously the greatest wrestling company in the world to work for. I guess you would say financially, unless you're a Japanese guy working in All Japan or New Japan or something like that. But in the United States, obviously, he's got the most television, so he was it. So I figured I'd take advantage of it, but I wouldn't sign for more than a year.
What did you expect going into it?
Absolutely nothing. I knew to expect absolutely nothing because, I figured I was wondering why Vince, once Paulie went under, what took him 3-4 years or whatever it was to get things started. So I really didn't. I expected absolutely nothing, and I was just, you hope for the best, but you don't really expect anything going into a company like that. And it turned out to be what I felt was what actually happened.
Right. Did you have any input at all in the pay-per-view One Night Stand, or was it pretty much just get in there, do your job?
Well, none. The first one I believe I did with Dreamer. It was me, Dreamer, against Bubba Ray,
right,
and Devon, and we had 17 run-ins or whatever like that, literally. And Stevie Richards was out there. Lance Storm came out there, were just incredible. The Blue Meanie, Stevie Richards, on and on. And they pretty much, Dreamer knows me, Dreamer and Bubba and those guys know me, that they knew that they better get it together and put it together and have it there, or I'm going to start questioning stuff. I'm going to be like, well, why are we doing this? 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 I was lucky to have, or I guess we're all lucky to have Johnny Ace as the agent for the match, you know what I mean? But which I didn't know what the hell an agent was. I never had an agent for a match, you know what I'm saying? Which turned out to be part of the reason why I asked for my release was that I wasn't used to having people tell me how to have my match. You know what I mean? And Johnny Ace just let me always be the Sandman, you know what I mean? Kept it nice and simple. No, he knows I'm not a great technical wrestler, you know what I mean? So Johnny Ace was our agent. I had a little bit of input and we literally went over this match I think there was 17 people that was, Beulah was out there too, and then who came out and pulled, was it Francine that pulled Beulah's hair? They were involved in it, so it was a big group of people downstairs in the ballroom in the lower level. And we got over it, and we just got done going over it, and I was ready to head upstairs for my entrance.
How much of how much input did Paul have on that pay-per-view over the other writers?
Well, you know what? I think Dreamer wrote most of that pay-per-view because I don't know. See, I was never really sure what Paulie's place was in the company until it became November. Let's say June, July, August, September, October, November. I was on the first 24 shows, the first 24 weeks. All of a sudden, Paulie gets the book, and I'm off television for 3 months. All they're doing.
Do you think Paul had a lot of, say in it, or do you think Dreamer?
Well, no, Dreamer wasn't in a lot of the meetings. You know what I mean? To tell you the honest God's truth, I think one, everybody was scared of Paul because Paul he's like an idiot savant genius when it comes to wrestling. Hey, the guy's lied a lot. He's lied to me. He's lied to everybody. But when it really comes down to the bottom line is Paul knows wrestling. And I really think that if you got 15 other guys, it's kind of like, I'll give you an example. Suppose you're Julius Caesar. You're Julius Caesar. Julius Caesar is Vince McMahon. Then you have the rest of your Senate in there, you know what I mean? And the rest of the Senate, if you fall out of favor with the rest of the Senate, or if you figure that Julius Caesar is going to vote this guy in as his head right-hand man, the rest of the Senate's going to turn against you. So I think the rest of the Senate was always against Paul because they were always scared of losing their position. So they were always pushing bad propaganda to Vince about Paul. So eventually what would happen was Paul's stuff would get dismissed and they would end up doing other people's stuff until finally, I think Vince wanted to put his trademark on ECW. So he put Paul in control. Next thing you know, I'm off of television. A couple other guys are off of television. We got Bobby Lashley, and nothing to say. Bobby Lashley, great kid. But we got him as champion when RVD should have been champion. And now, if you were to think about this, RVD would have been champion, probably still would have been champion if he didn't get pulled over for smoking pot with Sabu that day. Now, think about this. They just had, 10, 11 guys suspended last week. If that would have happened a week or so after that, RVD still would have been champion, and that would have been buried under the news. You know what I mean? Because pot's pretty much legal in California. You can go buy it where RVD is. You know what I'm saying? So he was putting. There's a difference between a push and a shove. He got shoved, and I think there was a little bit of a backlash, and that's why I think he lost part of his core ECW audience. Break.
Yep. A lot of people argue about the December to Dismember pay-per-view as being the worst in the company's history. Do you agree with that?
It was supposed to be.
Right.
It was, listen, they put Paulie in a position doomed for failure. They had, what they do, 98,000 buys or something like that. If you put $500 into your advertising, what are you going to get in your return? They didn't start advertising that show until like 5 days beforehand.
Yeah.
What do you expect?
There you go.
I think it was all doomed. I think Vince put Paulie in that position to make him fail, to only have a small advertising budget, to only get a small buy rate, to get rid of him.
Now, did you and Paul ever talk? Did Paul ever express his frustration with what was going on to you at all, or did he keep a poker face on and just...
Well, no, Paul's never has a poker face. Paul's always trying to push some propaganda, you know what I'm saying? But he knew with me ever since the time that I left, when I left ECW, when he paid Sabu like $15,000, paid me $14,000 for that match in Pittsburgh, ladders, tables, and chairs.
Right.
I'm not really exactly sure on the numbers, but that's when I quit, called DDP. DDP had me a job for like the next day in WCW for $750,000 for 3 years, you know what I mean? So I would take what Paul took with a grain of salt, but Paul always knew to don't try and push your propaganda through me. And you know what? And to tell you the truth, like I told you, I had a brother that died 9 years ago from a brain tumor, and my brother could not tell the truth to save his life. So I was kind of used to it, you know what I mean? So I never hated Paul. It's just that I couldn't deal with him business-wise because I couldn't get the truth out of him. Paul always told me that if something went south in WWE, that he would start something else. So if he starts something else, then
it's good to know.
I'll listen.
Do you think Paul and Todd could ever work together again?
No.
No. Okay.
Well, yes, if Todd's the owner, Paul's the booker.
TitleMatchNetwork.com